All right, welcome to a very special episode of Inappropriate, Earl. We have one of the young, rising stallions in the world of stand-up comedy. This guy's what they call in the business, a real comer. He's one of my good friends up at the Comedy Store. We've known each other for, who knows, it's so long, I don't even, 4 or 5 years. He's a big wrestling fan. He's taken down a lot of high-end twat at the store, but he's quiet about it, which is the way to do it.
I work in the shadows.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shadows at the Comedy Store, so dark shadows. Please put your hands together for the one, the only Mr. Matt Edgar.
Thank you, Earl. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. No, thank you for being here. We're going to talk all things wrestling, comedy. Donald Sterling is out of control right now. He's probably just got passed at the Comedy Store. And,
Good point.
he draws a crowd. He's got it. So what are your thoughts? Let's just get right. I had you on originally to talk about wrestling.
I think this is more important right now.
But this is a huge story in LA. If you don't, well, everyone in the world knows by now. Donald Sterling is, let's just say he has problems with black people on Instagram. And I mean, listen, black is not a good color on Instagram. I'll agree with him there. But you like basketball, right?
Sure.
Are you a Clipper guy?
I guess. I mean, as much as I'm from here. I would take Clippers over Lakers. I thought that was a big bandwagon.
And
which is still, I guess, the Clippers is starting to become a bandwagon. But I like Blake Griffin. I like some other players.
I
like their owner.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think next year. How are you? My question to you and anyone really is: how are you a black player? The coach is black. How do you work for this guy tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, you block it out. I guess you're playing in the NBA. My thing is that this guy, of course, he's a race. Look how old he is. This old white guy from old white money. It's like, I don't think that it's wrong that he's racist. That's stupid, and he'll die soon, and that's fine. That whole generation's gonna go soon. But you're getting paid a lot of money to play the one game that you love more than anything that you've played your entire life, and you've worked so hard to get here, and now it's playoffs time. And I just don't think, I think nobody's getting hurt from his racism
except black people.
Yeah. I mean, really though? Does that really offend people? It's just some one old guy.
Well, you're right. I mean, that is from a.
I don't know why. I get why it should be big news and everything, but I don't know, man. I don't think it really affects anyone. I mean, who cares? He's some old owner. He's not going to be around much longer.
Well, here's the thing. He's got so much money that I don't think he cares what people think about him.
Clearly.
I mean, he's got money. He might be the richest owner in the league. Maybe Mark Cuban has more money. But he has an office building. I think it's on the corner of Rodeo and Wilshire. I think it's the richest in terms of land value and rental income you could get in the city. And the first 7 floors are vacant.
Oh my God.
And then his office building's up at the top. It's like that he's losing millions a month in potential rent, but who cares?
Yeah.
In his mind.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Nothing to him. I think if anything, that girl, girl who, by the way, isn't she mixed? Is she also black?
Well, that's the funny thing, is for a guy who hates black people, he was putting his
interesting company.
He was putting his ding-a-ling in her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what are you doing?
I think she, it's a childish fit she's throwing, and she's ruining it for everyone. I mean, I can't stress enough the fact that he's a racist. Yes, that's stupid and it's wrong. But why'd she have to go and do that? Now, this is getting in the player's head. I mean, it affected their game. They're talking about boycotting. It's like, if she never did that, we could just have a good time and watch some good Clippers basketball and not have to think about racial issues. It's just a social issue to me that I think that like we could all have thick skin about this. And I know I'm not black, and it's like, who am I to say that you shouldn't be offended? I guess, yeah, get offended, but just remember, it's just some old white guy that's not going to be around. It doesn't really matter. He still pays his players. Everybody's making money. Everybody's getting to play baseball or basketball. I mean, it's like, it's not, I don't know, man. I just don't want it to affect the team. I just think letting it affect the way you play is giving that guy too much power.
But it almost has to affect the team. I mean, if you're a black player, even if you're the only white guy on the team, Reddick, you have to be like, wow, our owner's fucking insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and that's the thing too. I'm sure it's a compromising position when you're actually on it. I'm saying as a guy who hardly watches basketball, that outside looking in is a different perspective. So really fuck what I have to say about it. But I just
But you're a fan, though. You're the guy who's going to buy the ticket to go to the game, the Clipper T-shirt. I know you're not like a monster Clipper guy, but, we're the most important people in this whole thing. It's like, which is funny because we're going to talk about wrestling. I always felt guilty liking some eras of wrestling because you think of how Vince McMahon portrayed black people. If you remember the Junkyard Dog, this was a black dude who was forced to wear a dog chain and crawl around the ring on all fours, going like he was an animal.
Yeah.
And Slick was like just some sleazy, conniving, typical pimp.
Right.
Virgil. The Godfather was just some sleazy, conniving pimp. Yeah. Kamala was some savage animal from Africa who couldn't speak English. There's many more. And gay characters as well. But, I look back and go, how could I like some of these things?
Well, I don't know. I was a kid watching those guys, and I didn't know that. I didn't know how racist that was. I didn't think that about black people. I thought those were just characters on this fantasy that I follow.
Yeah, I know. I just, the Sterling thing kind of just made me look at stuff I like. And, I bet Sterling's favorite movie is Blazing Saddles. He's probably, Django Unchained and 42 is probably like porn to him. And there's more people out there like him. If you think he's the only NBA owner who doesn't like black people, you're out. I'm not saying you, but you're out of your mind.
This is such an old, they're so old. That's like that. It's that generation, my great grandpa was racist, seemed like a good man, but would say horrible shit. It would just come out so fluently. Like it took no thought. It was, and that he's dead now, and like that generation's dying, and like this guy's one of the last of that generation. I just hate that I just hate that it's affecting the players and it's affecting everybody this much. Like I said, it's giving him too much power. He already has enough.
Oh yeah. Well, Obama had the best I think take on this, where he said the thing you do with an ignorant person is just let him talk.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's brilliant, because let him do what he's going to do. It's not, he's, like I said, still paying the players. The Clippers is still a team. That guy's not going to be around much longer. We don't have to worry about him. It really, in the end, fuck that girl, man. Her little childish temper tantrums costing the Clippers.
And that just goes to show you, I'm guessing that about a week ago, he probably called her a cunt.
Yeah.
And
also, he sounded fucked up in that recording. He sounded painkiller fucked up.
Yeah. Well, a lot of, I was just listening to, I think, ESPN. The guy was saying when he used to work for the Clippers, he would go to the team Christmas party, and one party, Sterling would greet everyone dressed as Santa, and you take a picture with him. So he walks in with his wife, takes a picture. She forgets her makeup. He goes back out to the car and get it. Comes back literally like 2 minutes later, and Donald Sterling's like, "Hey, Donald Sterling, nice to meet you. Let's take a picture." He's like, "We just took one a minute ago." So I think it was John Ireland, just to give proper credit to.
Yeah, he's getting fucked up.
So but he doesn't care. He could have moved the Clippers to the Arrowhead Pond and had the arena to himself. He's like, fuck it, I'll just be the second. Like, he doesn't care.
Right.
Like, who would want to stay in the arena with the Lakers where you'll be second banana forever?
Uh-huh.
And, he just doesn't care.
Yeah. Also, in those recordings, you could tell there's a lot of times where he's like, why are we why are you still talking about this? She was trying to pull it out of him.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, I could see someone like TMZ setting him up saying, hey, if you can get him going, we'll make it worth your while, because she had to know once these tapes hit, she's cut out of his life. Mm-hmm. So, she got compensated well by somebody.
Yeah, totally.
And, but her 15 minutes of fame, she'll be a hooker and on Backpage within a year.
Yeah.
Because, who's going to want to be around her?
She's really not that hot either.
I mean, she looks like she could have been in Poison in '87. I mean, you know how it is. You've seen girls at the Comedy Store. Once the younger ones come in, the older ones are out.
Yeah.
It's just evolution.
Yeah, it's harder for women. They age quicker. The 20s, they just,
Well, you want the young girl. I mean, you always want to downgrade age-wise, and, this girl's hot now. She's probably 25, but she looks an old 25. Mm. And, Donald's
got that rough face.
Yeah, I mean, she'd been around the block. I mean, you're taking pictures with Kemp and Magic. That means you like the black dong. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
I really think the issue wasn't so much it being a black thing as it was other guys.
Well, I think it was a black thing.
Well, of course there's a black thing in it, but I mean, it was like, he seemed like a jealous boyfriend.
Yeah, no, you're right there. He was probably like, I'm Donald Sterling. You're going to take my money. You're going to...
Because he even said that nice thing about Magic in that recording. Like, in that conversation, he's like, I do, he is someone that should be... I forget what it...
But it was such a backhanded compliment. Yeah, it was like, I admire him. He should be admired, but just not in my arena, which is really...
Don't bring him to our game.
Yeah, so it's a sad... Because now the Clippers are like, they had their best season probably ever. Mm-hmm. And now, tomorrow night will be interesting. Does the crowd boo? Like, if you're a Clipper fan, call in. All right, we don't take calls.
Well, that's the sad thing is, like, the team has to hear the boos for it. Like, I don't know, man. I just feel bad for the team, really. The people that do work for the Clippers that aren't racist, you know what I mean? Or are offended by it, and that's their boss. Like, that's where it's shitty. I have a hard time. I mean, I don't know. Does it affect me? No, because it's just another example of an old racist guy. I've seen that my whole life, and then and it going public. I just think it ruins everyone's good time. Now we're talking about this rather than talking about how great the Clippers are.
Yeah, or I had you on to talk about wrestling and comedy in LA, and it's like we have to talk about this, man. I mean, it's like
I get it all out.
I mean, it's such a. I mean, CNN has it on. I mean, people aren't even looking for the Malaysian airplane anymore. So, I mean, it's like
that's what it took.
But I tell you what, right now, if you put a shitty comedy show on that Malaysian airplane, a lot of people would find it.
Oh, yeah.
I would find it just so I could headline it.
A Facebook notification of where it's at.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy that there's not one trace of it, but that's another. It's old news. So, all right, let's get. Well, so that's it. I mean, we got a racist basketball owner. It's tomorrow. The NBA commissioner's doing a press conference.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
And he does have the power. Here's the thing. It's like, what do? You can't take the team from him. It's his team. You just can't take someone's possession from them. And it's like, but you can't have him there either.
This might kill that old man.
Well, he's probably so looped up on Adderall and other Oxycontin. He probably thinks he could go to the game tomorrow night and everyone would cheer him.
I really hope he does think that.
And now his life is probably in danger. You got some militant brothers out there. I'll show you who not to bring to your games.
Yeah, but he's untouchable.
Who knows, man?
Close to him.
I mean,
he has black security in that term.
That would be the funniest if he had, a huge black security guard who just let the gunman just slip in.
Just goes and takes a nap.
I'll be right back, Mr. Sterling. He lets the guy in. Hey, he's in the bedroom. We'll take him out. I mean, so it's. I mean. He'll make money on this. That's the crazy thing. If you take the team away from him, he'll make $1 billion because that's about what he'd be paid.
Sure.
Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
Even a billionaire wants another billion.
I wonder why he bought a basketball team if he's such a bigot.
Well, because he just to own in his mind. I mean, it's
closest thing
slavery.
Slavery.
It's great. In his mind, it's like I'm giving them food and water. So, it's there's many more people out there like him. He's not, but I think there's some secret rule where 3/4 of the owners can vote him out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where he had, but they were saying on the news today, there's like 8 owners who have big skeletons in their closet.
Ooh, yeah.
Like one guy is against gay rights, and he's donated millions of dollars to fight gay marriage, and then another guy had some like chemical company where all these things were causing cancer. So there's like 8 of them who might not be on board with kicking him out, because then they think, well, let's go after this guy next.
Yeah.
So tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day in LA sports.
I cannot wait.
And it's great for the LA Kings, the hockey team, because they play tonight, and the city needs like just any positive energy right now. And if they're down, they were down 3-0. If they win tonight, the series is tied. If they could win the series, it would at least somewhat soften the blow of Donald Sterling and the racism, because it's just an ugly story. But final thoughts.
I mean,
as Bill O'Reilly would say, what say you?
It's a shitty thing, man. I wish that it didn't blow up like this. I wish he could have just been racist in the privacy of his home where it didn't affect anybody.
Like me.
Yeah.
I mean, like others I know.
Well, you're not just at home being racist, though. It comes out in fun places.
But I'm just kidding around.
Your timing of racism is impeccable.
But I'm kidding, and everyone knows it.
Yeah. That's why it works. It's like right at the right time, you'll say something horrible, and I mean, I watch you just kill in black audiences because of that.
Because I do it so over the top.
Yeah, completely.
There's
nobody would outwardly say this in a group of people.
They know it's a character, and I always look at the black comics first. Mm-hmm. Because if they're not laughing, I'm like, okay, maybe I crossed the line there.
Yeah.
And
do you think that a lot? Do you feel like you might have crossed it?
I mean, like, during the roast battle, which is, I don't know if a lot of people who listen know what that is. It's Tuesday nights at the Comedy Store. There's how would you describe that? Like I don't want to say a Yo Mama contest, but it's
totally not. It's way more clever than that. It's, 2 comedians going head to head, writing roast jokes, face to face. It's not like a panel thing. There's not a dais. It's 2 guys holding microphones. One says a roast joke. The audience reacts, and the other guy says the joke. And Earl is what we call the house racist, and he just kind of chimes in when the moment's right, and it's always very racially fueled and just so funny. And it's all because of your timing. It's like, even and as bad as the stuff that you say is, it's always clever because it falls right into what's going on in the room. It's not outwardly. It doesn't come out of the blue.
Well, it's just based on several people actually up at the Comedy Store.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's also an impression. Yeah,
I mean, it's so ridiculous. I mean, I was actually raised by my dad was away in business a lot, so my stepdad, even though he wasn't a stepdad, but it's the only way I really knew how to describe him, was black. So, I was, raised in a semi-black environment, since I was a kid. So
you're close to it. That's how you could.
I'm down with the brothers.
Kind of thought so quickly.
The funny thing is, this guy, he'd take me to school. I guess you call him a butler or whatever the proper term is. No, I mean, butler's dismissive to me. Like, that's why I say it's like a stepdad role. He would take me to Sambo's every day for lunch. Now, Sambo's is a pretty racially derogatory name, but that was the name of a major restaurant in LA. It was basically they all turned into Denny's. Uh-huh. So, and the Sambo's logo was like this black guy eating a ham bone.
Well, I'm confused. I don't know that word.
Sambo's is like, it's not, I don't really know what it means, but it's not very friendly towards, African Americans. Uh-huh. It's like, he's, I mean, I don't, it's just not a good word for, it's just, I don't think, it's just funny that a major restaurant was named after it. It would be like, I know in the South they have some restaurants called Crackers, which is, not the greatest term toward white people.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, but then they all turned into Denny's out here, which had racial problems.
John Little.
Oh, he was the best. Is the best.
John Little wanted to open up he'd always talk about opening up a sand company where he ships sand across the country, and he wanted to call it Sand Niggers.
I mean, I'm never one to.
He was dead serious. He would look into it, and I think he knew somebody that had a sand company, and he somehow thought it could work, and he wanted to do it out of Oklahoma, so that might have worked too.
But well, I had a friend of mine, and he was along the same lines. He wanted to do he was a surfer, and they have these things called boogie boards, which are kind of like beginning surfboards for people who aren't really, sure if they want to invest in a real deal surfboard. And he wanted
about boogie boards.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So everyone knows what boogie boards are. I had one or two as a kid.
Absolutely.
He wanted to have a boogie board company in Compton because the rents are cheap for the warehouses. And he was like, my tagline, and he was dead serious, was boogies made by boogies. And it's like, dude, I'd like to invest in that. No, I mean, but it's just Sambo's was just like, really?
Where was that at?
They were basically wherever you see a Denny's used to be a Sambo's.
Wow.
So
is that why you think they changed it? Or
oh, absolutely. I mean, I think someone was like, and this was in the 70s and 80s. Someone was like, I think we should probably change the name of this because they probably showed him the racial slur database, and it's like, which is an amazing thing.
Is that a thing?
There's you can go online, Google, or I guess Google it, and it's called the racial slur database, and it's sad, but like white people have like maybe 20 names, Mexicans like 30 names. The black racial slur database is like literally 300 names. Some of them are pretty funny. I will admit to that, but there's some funny ones for the white ones.
Sure, racism can be funny
if it's done with no meanness.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I said, with timing. If it's in context.
Well, yeah, like the other night at the roast joke, and the creators of the show, Earl Battle and Brian Moses, both black, and Moses is I guess you'd say the MC, the host of the show, and I presented him with a watermelon on stage. And it's just like that's crazy.
Yeah, but you know what? You're a comedian on a comedy show, and everybody gets it. My dad's the mayor of Los Alamitos.
Really?
Yes. The reason he got that job was he was actually on city council, but the mayor before him posted on an email string a picture of the White House with watermelons growing out front. And it became national news, and he got fired for it. And my dad stepped in. It's like, that's a place where you don't be racist. Like, it's not even he was trying to kid. I don't know if he meant, I doubt he meant that. I mean, he's a mayor of a city. He was probably trying to be funny, but it doesn't fly in that context because this is a political world. We all need to be politically correct. But when you're doing a comedy show, when it's about making fun of each other and making fun of people, the main thing is whenever you say anything racially funny, the room laughs together, black, white. I mean, we have everybody in there. It's a bunch of comedians. And it's, what I really think too, it's like, how do you be a comedian and racist? You guys are all together. Like, how many times have you had to when you're a comedian, you're mixed into worlds where you would normally never get to be. Like, you meet people that you would never meet. You hang out with people that you never meet. And after you've done it for so long that like you have friends with people that like are complete crackhead prostitutes.
Oh, yeah.
Just, you shoot the shit with that you would never have been able to come anywhere near had you not been in the world of comedy. So in those contexts, it's fun, and it's like, it's fun to make fun of stuff, and it's just so lighthearted. But when you're an owner for a professional sports team, or a politician, it's like, don't just. Man, I mean, it's sad too because he was having Sterling. He was having a conversation with his girlfriend. So you would think that that's private. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, It was a setup.
It's still like he's a racist and he's
horrible.
So it's I hear how like let's reveal him for the racist he is. It just right now, can we have waited after the series? Can we wait, in the summertime when?
I mean, it's crazy.
We could get rid of him and have a new owner by next season. Yeah, we have to this is the most critical time for the Clippers.
Yeah, can you at least wait till the Clippers are in the second round?
Yeah.
I mean, and they have a legitimate shot at winning the title. I mean, but they looked so discouraged yesterday and just so disheartened and like, fuck it. I mean, how do you, in your heart, play for that guy, knowing that he thinks you're just nothing but a?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's also about playing for the love of the game.
Oh, it's tough. I mean, it's really
they're such professionals that they've done this. It's not that there's no love for the game. Of course, they still have their passion, but the surface level thing is their boss is a huge racist, and now everyone knows it, and they're working for them. That's kind of like I hate saying I won't say the actual thing, but when in slave days when there was a slave that worked in the house.
Right, a house.
Yeah, how despicable he was to all the other slaves.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's like that for other basketball teams and players. Like, oh, you guys are still going to work for this? Like, they're in the house with the racist.
But I'm sure they know that their owner, the odds of their owner probably being a racist is pretty high.
Yeah, so you think like the other players are like, wow, man, it sucks that they got.
Let's look at our owner.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're a black owner, which I think there might be one or two. I'm not sure on who owns every team. I mean, I guess Magic owns some. Doesn't he own?
Well, that's
or Jordan. Doesn't Jordan own some?
They're talking about how cool it would be if Magic bought the team.
But yeah,
I just absolutely love that. That would just throw everything in everyone's face.
But I mean, I don't know. Like, it just, Sterling's big thing is that he loves lawsuits because he always has more money than everybody.
Yeah.
So, I
sport for him.
But yeah, it's well known that the coaches he's fired, and Bill Fitch, Dunleavy, and there was a third guy, Hughes, I think. But I'm not like the biggest hoops guy, so I may be off in the last one. He owed them, even when you fire someone. I don't think a lot of people realize you still have to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Mike Brown was fired by the Lakers, he had a 5-year deal.
Yeah, you have a contract.
He's still getting paid. Fitch would be like, hey, you're not my coach anymore. Or Sterling would be like, you're not my coach anymore. If you want the rest of your money, sue me. And it's like, how are you going to go up against Donald Sterling?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're like a coach who's got millions in the bank, even Phil Jackson wouldn't have the funds to but now the NBA could do it in reverse because they got more money than Sterling.
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, tomorrow's press conference is
I can't wait. It's the NBA versus.
Yeah, it's going to set off a chain of events. I'm sure, but this is a well-known thing with Sterling. I mean, everyone in the inner circles of real estate and the NBA knew that he was Elgin Baylor, the black GM, legendary Laker and basketball player, made a big stink about this years ago, saying I had to work under racist conditions, and no one gave a shit because who's Elgin Baylor? He's just some crazy old Laker. But now it's like,
this is where it's hot.
Yeah. And I met Elgin Baylor once at the supermarket. Now here's like one of the greatest basketball players ever. He really was. And he was on my favorite episode of The White Shadow. So I walked up to him and said, hey, man, I loved you on The White Shadow. Like, I totally dismissed his basketball career as being one of the greatest ever. Just go right to some shitty show that he probably doesn't even remember doing.
Yeah.
But, so there you go.
I love those obscure compliments to people that they wouldn't even think about that. Like, oh, you saw that?
Well, I love it, man. Like, who was at the Comedy Store? The blonde kid from Karate Kid, the bad guy, Johnny.
Yeah.
And all the comics are going up to him like, hey, man, I loved you in the Karate Kid. Put him in a body bag, Johnny. And, just all his lines. And he looks at me like, all right, you say it too.
Oh.
And I'm like, hey, man, I loved you in Just One of the Guys. And he was like,
whoa.
It was like some obscure movie. And so, I mean, that's the great thing about the Comedy Store. So many celebrities of all levels, A level to, D level, freaks.
Yeah, the guy from Real World that said his grandma died.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, was that the guy? I thought that was the guy on fucking what was the name? Survivor.
Yeah.
Was he up there?
Yeah. I've seen him before. I don't even want to. Can't even think of his name. And
Johnny Fairplay.
right.
Yeah. Which is scary. I know that.
He heckled Dave Chappelle one night, and Dave ripped him one. He said, actually, his heckle was, "I'm Johnny Fairplay from Survivor. I said my grandma died." And then Chappelle goes, and the whole crowd, you can tell everyone's annoyed, gets quiet, and then Chappelle goes, "I'm sorry, I never heard of you. I come from a branch of television that takes talent."
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know the people in the back, all the animals in the background. Whoa!
Especially this douchebag. Why would you interrupt Dave Chappelle?
Well, if you're a celebrity and you have to tell people who you are, you're not really a celebrity.
Exactly.
It's like Jeff Ross walks in the room. He doesn't have to say, hey, I'm Jeff Ross. We know. So, and he's so nice that he doesn't say,
Jeff Ross.
Oh, he's the best. And he's a big reason behind my character. He's encouraged me. He has nothing to do with what I say.
Yeah.
But even I was like, hey, am I going too over the line? It's like, because he knows on roast what.
Yeah, sure. You understand how television works.
And I even told him, like, hey, man, when this goes to TV, and that show will get on TV, I'm convinced of it.
Oh, I know. It's going to be, I'm watching my friend Brian Moses become a star from it. It's pretty incredible.
Oh, he'll be great. Rel will be really anyone who's, people like you will get on it. Like, there's so many things so many roast situations you could concoct. You could have you go up against maybe another, rising comic or maybe a bitter old comic.
Mm-hmm.
You could have like New York comics against LA comics. You could have like someone said Argus and Frasier. That would be hilarious.
I was just thinking that. I would love to see that.
Black comics.
Guys write jokes that could be, they're the quick. The roast world is very much set up punch. It's like a set up punch type stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys are that.
So, I would
love to see that battle.
Black comics versus white comics. If you really went nuts, I don't think they would ever do it because I don't think they like each other, but you could have Rogan and Mencia. How big would that be?
That would be incredible.
And then just there's a million, I don't know, D'Elia against Dane Cook.
Yeah, how big can it get it? Especially, I can't wait to see. I would love to see Jeff Ross do one.
Yeah, but
General himself.
Yeah, who would take him on? David Attell maybe.
Yeah, I was just thinking that Attell.
It's so endless how you could have it would
Freelander.
Yeah, against.
Because everybody's going to take their own kind of approach to comedy with them in that arena.
Yeah,
it's interesting to see what certain people would do.
And I would do it more in a Rick Rude type character, but I don't think people would get the.
Oh, I would. And a lot of people would actually.
Because he was so over the top, you could tell he was laughing. On a lot of the things he was saying to the crowd, because he's like, this is so stupid, but, all you fat, lazy, unsophisticated New Jersey swamp dragons. I
like the way he spoke.
He was great. He paused after every word.
He had great rhythm in his
great timing. And that's what I don't, and maybe this morphs into the wrestling, because I don't see the guys today having that,
they're starting to.
There's a few, I'm trying to think, Wade Barrett's pretty good, but they've, ruined his character, so nobody really cares about him anymore. Daniel Bryan's pretty good.
I think he's amazing.
Orton's great on the mic.
I think right now the wrestling talent in WWE is better than it's been in a while. Especially the last day. I'm not saying it is the Attitude Era again, but I'm saying that it's like an Attitude Era.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think the only problem is, they don't have any competition pushing them. TNA is so bad and so awful that it's let's just do what we want.
It's interesting, man. There's some great indie organizations that I would love to see have a Monday night show around that time, that company PWG.
Yeah, who I've tried to go with you guys.
Yeah, tickets just went on sale. We should go to the next one.
But Meyerowitz, Josh Meyerowitz, our ticket concierge, was a little late on getting me getting me in the loop on the last one.
Oh man, well he was all over me.
Yeah.
Must have slipped his mind, but he already hit me up about the ones that just went on sale. And I'm telling you, Earl, from a guy that you really enjoy wrestling, I'll tell you this: in the first 5 minutes of watching it, because you're in a small little. I guess the closest thing I could compare it to is like a high school gymnasium, maybe even a little smaller than one of those. 3 rows around the ring. It's so tiny, and within the first 5 minutes of watching the first match, I immediately, and I've watched wrestling my whole life. I'm like, oh my god, this is the way to watch wrestling.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I remember going to XPW shows, which was those were insane. But
I think they're meant to be more intimate rather than it's fun in the arena. There's so many people. It looks big. It just kind of makes everything look iconic. And watching on TV is the next best thing. But when you're in that, there's a few times that I only went once. There's a few times where I got to run up and something would happen in the ring and then slam on the mat. Like I'm hitting the mat ringside and with a bunch of other people. It's Fight Club for wrestling. It's like fake Fight Club.
Well, that's like the roast battle. I think why it works is because it's in the belly room.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the smallest room. And it's like an ECW type feel. It's like people are jammed in there. And, I know there was talk. It's getting so big, they wanted to move it to the main room.
Yeah, I think they're doing that for the next one.
See, I don't think they should because it's just too big.
It is.
And you wouldn't have the energy. And people, I think, would walk into the main room, they'd check it out, and then they'd leave. That's the thing about the belly room. You can't leave. Once you're in there.
Oh, yeah. You're stuck.
You'll lose your space. So
you better hope there's not a fire.
If you hear this actually will be put up today. Usually I just stockpile them, and I found it wasn't fair to the people coming on the podcast because they were plugging their shows that were 3 months like after the fact. I had Sandy on once, and he's talking about this show he had in September, and I released it in like November. So I'm trying to be a little better about but the show this Thursday is your good friend. At Tony,
yeah.
I'm giving this Twitter at Tony Hinchcliffe on Twitter versus Jesus Trejo, who's a real animal, and this is a hard one to pick, because it's both great comics.
Let's Sports Center this right now. I think that I think experience. It's hard to say because Tony hasn't been in the battle.
Yeah,
Jesus has battled a few times and he's only won. Tony does have a roast history working with Jeff Ross. I mean, he's Jeff Ross' right-hand man for a while. I think that, he's also done roasts himself, professional roasts. You guys roast the Iron Sheik together that one time.
Oh, that was great.
So I think you just got a really good, and they're both friends and they love each other. So I think that helps too. That kind of Jeff said it best. Jeff Ross said it. I helped him. I had the honor to sit with Jeff Ross and help him write for the Charlie Sheen roast,
which was great.
Thank you. I wrote 3 jokes for that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And one thing he said about we had Steve-O over one time because he was on it, and we were helping Steve-O write jokes, and he told Steve-O about roasting and how and Jeff Ross always says this: I only roast the ones I love. And I think that helps because when you love someone, you know them, you have that kind of compassion for them. You know what's sensitive to them, but how that's also funny. And especially Jesus and Tony have such thick skin; they'll be fine. They could really go to any place, and nobody's getting offended. It's just 2 friends that are really funny, making fun of each other in front of everybody. And I think. I don't know who's going to win, but I know that we'll all have a great time.
Oh, it's going to be one of the great nights in Comedy Store history. I mean, I give Jesus the slightest edge only because he's already been roasted 3 times. Is it 2 or 3 times?
I'm not sure.
I think at least twice, possibly 3.
At least twice.
The records are almost like wrestling records. Because there's a lot of roasts in the beginning. I don't know if they necessarily counted. Like I did one against Boone. Yeah. And I don't think people would really count that as me doing one.
In the book.
But I counted. I mean, I killed him. But that was like me. I was like the Warrior, and he was the Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah, it's not fair.
I had like three rounds of AIDS jokes, and he just kept saying, "Who does your hair?" So all the lines. I mean, the thing with Jesus is you can't say he's not funny. So that kind of goes. because some people who roast aren't funny, and you could zing them on that. He has obvious physical, maybe situations you could make fun of. The hair or whatever, but it's already been done twice.
Well, it's already been done by him as well. I mean, the guy's a comedian who makes fun of that about himself. So I really think, especially when somebody who's already been, and this is also why I will give Jesus the slight edge, is that a lot of those things have been called out. You can't be repetitive. Like Tony actually has to work harder now.
Oh, absolutely.
Can Tony beat him? Absolutely.
Oh, sure. If this was the first time roast, none of them had roasted, I would maybe say Tony gets a slight edge, because I think he is the more mean spirited of the two, and that's what you need, that edge. I think. If you look at the last couple winners of the roast battles, it's the ones who went hard. But Tony's only problem that I see is that he's got so much material to go on, I don't know, just a lot of things that are going to be completely fresh. So when Jesus says his lines about whatever, it's going to be like, oh my God, that's great. And
both of them are smart enough to have already written reversals.
Yeah, well, that's the key. I mean, as someone who's seen every roast battle, and now that I'm the house racist, I sit basically on the stage. It's all about the rebuttal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus knows Tony's going to hit the hairline.
Yeah.
And the mustache, and
poor parents.
Poor people make fun of Jesus's teeth. I've never noticed him to. I don't. But comics are vicious. So Jesus knows that. Tony probably knows that Jesus will hit him on certain women from his past, and his association with Jeff. I mean, it's like when Virginia got roasted. She knew that everyone was going to say, oh, you're with Jeff, blah blah blah. So it's like
these are two smart guys. I think that's the thing too, is that where I've seen people fail is they get rocked by something that they weren't expecting. They're like, oh, you went there. And this is early roast. I think now, since the roast's been going on for a few months, everybody's well aware that there are no rules. People will say whatever they want, and they could go as mean as they want. And sometimes they do. I don't know. I think what also gives people what fucks people up a lot is the guys, and I think it's rare that we see it anymore, but definitely in the beginning, a lot of the younger guys, a lot of the newer comics would think that they'd write all the jokes by themselves and not show anyone, and they'd have no idea how unfunny or how they just don't connect. These jokes are horrible and they're just getting slammed. Whereas, when you're a comedian, you're friends with other comedians. Some of these guys are professional, funny people.
Oh yeah.
Run some shit by and make sure this, keep it out of your head as much as possible. So you kind of know going into it. Just like boxers that are going into a fight, they watch the tapes. They have a training camp. They have a team behind them. Build your team when you go into it. Don't just go in it alone, because the other guy's not alone. And I've seen too many open micer guys that are doing the roast just go up there and they have the weakest joke because they thought it was brilliant. They thought that they were brilliant, but they didn't take the time to run it by anybody and find out that no. I mean, there's been many jokes that people have read me to go do on that roast. Like, nah, that doesn't work. Oh, that's good. Right. Keep that one. Or that, nah, I don't think that connects really well. Or why don't you ask so-and-so? And
yeah, I mean,
make it a team effort. I mean, you are delivering them. You have to be able to stay in the pocket while you're up there and maintain that thick skin and keep the rhythm. Like when what's his name, Josh Martin went up there and just crumbled on his first joke, and he can never really recover after that. You have to an extent, you have to have a level of performance in it.
Yeah, that was his problem, because that was a very uncomfortable roast, because I could feel the energy, and he had funny jokes. He showed me them before, and Alex Phillips has this great confidence and almost like Rick Martel arrogance, and I think if Josh wouldn't have stumbled initially he would have like maybe won or done better, because Alex was like a shark, man. He was just like, as soon as Josh started to like kind of fumble around with the words, he just attacked, and he flustered Josh. But then Josh saved his comedy reputation.
Oh, he did.
With maybe the greatest line ever against Russell Peters.
The greatest of that night, yeah.
Maybe that's got to be the greatest line ever in roast history to me. When so people not listening who weren't, or people listening hopefully who weren't there, the Alex Phillips beat Josh pretty handily. So they had a fourth round where Jeff Ross had Russell Peters go up there, and they started roasting Russell, who's the number one comic in the world. I mean, this guy made $22 million last year doing comedy.
He's an arena comic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's crazy. He plays where I go watch hockey games. Puts it all in perspective there. And I think Josh's line was, "You've got the money of Jay-Z and the talent of Jay Mandiam." Yeah, Jay's a great guy, Mandiam, but some people, I don't know. It's weird how some comics are liked up there, some aren't at the Comedy Store specifically.
Well, I know what it is too, man. I mean, anytime you're pushing yourself, like, if you think that everyone cares about you when you get there, or that they would find you interesting, or that you think that they should know certain things about you, when you push yourself on people at the Comedy Store, automatic dislike. I mean, you really have to humble yourself when you walk between that property line. And
yeah,
I mean, I didn't say anything to anybody for months, and I had a job there. I was a guy, I wore the t-shirt, and I was working there, not talking to anyone. I was so scared because,
But that's like why you're one of the most well-liked guys up there. And like, there's others, I won't say names, who just try too hard.
It's the trying too hard, because people think that like, oh, I need to, these people will like me if they knew I'm like this.
Yeah.
They try to be like, or, kissing ass never helps. And not being, I'll tell you this, if somebody's really cool and they're not funny, they could get shat on for not being funny, but they'll get chances just for being a swell guy and not overstepping any boundaries. People are open to letting people become funny there. It's not that, I mean, you have to be able to take being made fun of. I got rocked for years over there.
But what did you get rocked for? Being good looking? I mean, you're I don't want to. I mean, you're skinnier than. I mean, you're maybe skinny is the wrong word. How would you describe your body type?
Very skinny, yeah.
Like you're not like you're muscular though. I mean, you're like
a little bit, but it's like
not frail, but
Yeah, I think I got it mostly for just being at the time I was the youngest guy at the Comedy Store. For a few years I was the youngest guy at the Comedy Store, and that didn't help. And the fact that I'm not I'm not grotesque looking.
Well, yeah, I mean, you and Alex Phillips, I mean, it almost pays to be.
I had zero confidence, and it was an easy target when I got there.
But now
I turned 21. All I wanted to do was be I waited. I used to drive by the comedies. I'm from, Long Beach, Orange County-ish area over there. So once I got a car, once I could drive, I was driving by the Comedy Store on the Sunset, slowing down, looking in there. Couldn't wait to trying to figure out who was a comedian hanging out there.
Yeah, that's tough up there.
When I turned 21, I went straight there and just, I thought my dreams were about to come true, but I just, it was tough, man. They rocked me. There's guys over there like, oh man, like trying to do stand up and you have no idea how to do it. All you know is you're supposed to be funny and you don't even know anything about yourself. You don't know what's funny about you. You just think you have to go up there and you have 3 minutes and that's all you get to prove yourself funny. And then you just, oh man, the worst part was the intros to going up.
Oh yeah.
The host would be like, this next comedian, you know what? If you guys have to go to the bathroom, now's the time because this is gonna suck. And
was that O'Neill and Danish?
O'Neill mostly, yeah. O'Neill did it, but those guys were so funny. I mean, that was the thing too. It's like they would heckle me from the back and destroy while I'm up on stage with all the attention on me, and just like I got nothing. And they're so comfortable and so funny and smart, and I'm just eating it. I dreaded Sundays and Mondays for years.
Because they were hardcore, man. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but you know what though? That's the way it should be over there. That's a hardcore place, and you want it. You have to have such thick skin to be a comedian. You're putting yourself on the line every time you go on. I always say like you're only as funny as your last set.
Oh yeah, especially at the Comedy Store. You know, you could bomb at the Improv or Laugh Factory. You know, don't really bring it up ever again. But at the Comedy Store, you know, people want you to fail up there.
Meltdowns. I mean, that's where you go to have good public meltdowns.
Oh yeah,
that you just wish nobody ever saw.
And people,
Alex Morse said at one time, he was like, you know what you're going through? All those embarrassing things that comedians, when they start out, they start in their hometown. They go through this there. You're going through it at the world famous Comedy Store.
Oh yeah,
everybody's watching you eat shit for the first time.
Oh yeah, and they love it too. Because you know, I said this the other night. Like, the Comedy Store is like the slayer of comedy clubs, and the Laugh Factory's like the Bon Jovi. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, if you bomb at the Comedy Store, people start throwing shit at you, you know, heckling you, you know, getting on the side mic and fucking with you, you know. But it's, if you can get through that with some form of tact, you're respected up there, you know.
Yeah. Eventually you learn how to counter.
Yeah, and if you counter funnily, if that's a word, you get respected. I mean, you got to stand up for yourself up there.
Yeah, man.
You know,
I see people go up there and getting and crumbling and not coming back because the people were too mean. But I always thought that if I started doing stand up, why would I kind of do stand up comedy?
Right.
But you do it all the way, and I knew the only way to do it was for it to really hurt. You know what I mean? I mean, it'd been so long. I've been bullied my whole life. I've always been a skinnier, smaller guy in weird, fucked up neighborhoods. But the Comedy Store, man, I thought I was a grown up when I got there. I thought I was in my, hey, I'm in my 20s. I'm an adult, and I went there and felt like I was, 8 years old again.
Well, it's, survival of the fittest up there, and like as soon as you prove you won't take shit from people, you're accepted. And if you do take shit up there, you're just swallowed up alive. Like, there's that one older female comic, that does the Monday night.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about? She's actually nice to me, so I won't say her name, but she lets people give her shit and throw stuff at her on stage and heckle her, and then she starts, like almost saying, "Give me more." Like, she thinks we're paying tribute to her, and she's just eaten up alive every time she's on stage. And it's just like, she's in her 50s, man. And, that's the thing. At the Comedy Store, age has no relevance up there. If you're a nice person in your 20s or 50s, you'll be loved. If not,
that's what I love is like when you see a guy starting out comedy and he's grown man and he thinks that who are these fucking kids, and they come and these kids rock him. Like I love the guy that you really do. Comedy is something. Leslie Jones says this. I swear by this. And this
good dude.
Great man. Leslie Jones goes,
just kidding, Leslie.
Every time you go on stage, you must humble yourself before the crowd. And I mean, you must, because if you don't, you're gonna get leveled. Oh, brought down. It doesn't. Let me ask you this, Earl. How long have you done comedy?
15 years this year.
Okay,
14 years.
You're a really talented comedian, funny guy.
Likewise.
I call you a comedic sniper because you're always back there on the grassy knoll. And that doesn't offend you, does it? Like,
I mean, no.
Like grassy knolls?
I mean, I wish I was doing it on the stage some nights instead of in the back, row. But, that's another subject for another podcast.
I wish too. That I really do. You belong up there. But I've seen you. We've done shows together. I've seen you rock it on stage and off stage and in the back of the room. But let me ask you this. You've done comedy for you've
14, 15 years.
You've done it enough to have great sets and to have horrible sets.
Oh, absolutely.
But the horrible sets outweigh the great ones. And this is my question to you. Say you have a really rockin' good set, I'll give it, you're at the Improv, okay? And you slay the Improv. How long does that happiness from the kill last for? How long does that enthusiasm for life go? When you get off stage, right, you do well, you have that rush of like,
oh yeah,
yes, I did. I knew it. You have that, I knew it.
Probably for a day.
For a day?
And then
That's
you
pretty good.
Well, I mean, then you kind of realize, okay, not that meant nothing, but like last night, I had a great set at this show in Fullerton, it's a charity show, and everyone did well. And I did really well. I just got into a zone, and that feeling is somewhat leaving me right now because it's like, okay, that was last night. It was in Fullerton. It was a sold out charity show, but it's like, okay, I'm still going up to the Comedy Store tonight at 1 to try and sneak on before Boone. So it's like, but I got to start thinking a little more positively.
Oh, me too. But I really do feel that kind of that really good feeling of killing that fades away so quickly for me, because I know how bad I could be. You know what I mean? I know how bad I've been. I know why these jokes work. I know that not every crowd's gonna like me. I'm gonna bomb again. So when I do kill, I love it while I'm up there, and I love it right when I get off, and there's a good few hours, and then I'm just, there's going to be there's more shows tomorrow, and who knows what those are going to bring. Like I said, you're only as funny as your last set.
Oh yeah.
It just goes away. I feel it slipping away. It's like a kind of like a mushroom trip, when it starts wearing off, you feel it like, oh, there it's leaving.
Oh yeah. But, you just try and get back on, like, in the next show and try and recapture the gold. And, I like doing this podcast because by the way, this is the first podcast I've ever done standing. Both guests.
I love this.
This is great.
I think this is the way. I mean, it's so interesting because this is what I do at night.
Yeah. I mean, we are at 55 minutes. We've been standing for 55 minutes. And, usually I'm there, the guest is there. But, I don't really know what I'm doing in terms of the sound. I mean, now we're on board, but
how long you been doing this podcast?
This will be the 19th episode, so probably a couple months. Ari Manis, that's another young dude who's super super nice guy. He's the one who helped.
He set you up. He sets up people like this. He did Jason Rouse too. I introduced them, and he helped him out.
But Ari's smart because he's got a technical talent that will get him in, almost kind of like what Red Band did. He used his technical talents to get in with comics, and now he's getting on good shows.
Well, that's the thing too, is like he has that ability, but he's also a funny kid.
Yeah, no, he did.
Actually is funny. He's actually. A lot of times when somebody's good at stuff outside of the funny part, it's always they lack in that. They lack in the funny part when they're technically sound other places, whether it be networking or setting up a podcast studio. But that guy actually is well rounded.
Well, yeah, he hosted the show last night, and he was so, like, for lack of a better word, cute. I'm like, hey, do you want a regular spot? And you want me to host? So, you've done a lot of work for me. Why don't I host? And you got to. So cool. And he's like, no, man, I'll host, and I'm sure they won't like me, but I'll host. And they loved him. So it's just, he reminds me a lot of when I first met you, like just humble and quiet. I mean,
I think that's what attracts me to him too.
Yeah, he's a
very humble guy, and he also is a hustler in that he runs shows. Another thing, like how many people do you know that runs a show that are actually funny also on top?
Not many.
Not many. There are some, not many. And he just started out. I mean, he's only going to get better. But don't you love when you see that when there's a new crop of dudes coming in, and you could just see the ones that you're going to know for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah. You know who's in it for the long haul.
Yeah, you know who's in it for the long haul.
And then you see the young comics who are like Ari, in between Ari's and your age, glomming on to like following these more known comics around, not even really going up, but just staying in their inner circle. It's like, what are you guys doing? That's ain't going to help. No. But maybe it will. I don't know. So, I mean, the comedy.
If you really want to be a great comedian, you really do have to love it. And if you love it, you want to do everything it takes to learn more and more about it. You'll never stop learning more about it.
But networking is a skill that I lacked probably the first 12 years, where I was just like, fuck it, I'll work hard and everyone loves me. But I didn't really, like I started with Whitney Cummings. Like I probably started, Dave Taylor said, we started before her, but I kind of came up with her. And there was a time where like I would be put on before her, like, cause, Earl, and then like but she was networking. Like after show, she would find the person in the room who could help her. And I'd be like, going to watch hockey fight tapes at my house. I should have done what she did.
Right. Yeah. I feel like I'm missing out on all those networking opportunities now, and
you got to do it, man.
Well, I'm 28, so like my 20s are coming to an end, and like maybe that was the time to do it. But you know what? I come from the school of become great and then have something to network. But something to show people. And just now in the last year is the first time where I've been like, okay, well, all right, I should get a website. Or people are asking me where am I next, and they're asking me for business cards and stuff like that. And I feel like that's I don't know. There's honor in that I earned. At least for me, I could be completely failing.
No, I mean, there's no. That's the great thing about comedy. There's no right or wrong way. I mean, you get what you get when you get it. Just be ready for it.
Just be ready for it.
So, like when my first TV audition I did for Barry Katz on some dating show called One Night Stand Up. I thought, I got this nailed, man. I saw like guys like Ian Bagg looking at his set list, moving things around. I'm like, what are you doing that for, man? Just wing it. Yeah. And I bombed worse than I've ever bombed in my life. So, and that was like a huge... It was at the Comedy Store, actually. It was full Comedy Store.
Funny when you have a big show in front of you and you feel so ready for, like, you actually, like, and all the times where you haven't felt prepared for something, like when you actually feel prepared for a show, and then you pretty quickly while you're on stage realize, like, oh, this isn't going the way that I thought.
Oh, I was awful.
You have to let go of that dream, but while maintaining the composure, because you're literally performing, you're also battling these thoughts at the same time.
I mean, it was a packed Comedy Store. Whitney was the host, and my first. The thing was, it was called One Night Stand Up. It was a dating show. The girl never saw you; she just heard your act. So I thought it would be funny. This is right around the Duke lacrosse case. I thought, I'll start with a rape joke. And it's like, now I go, oh my God, that's insane. And so it's like, yeah, the captain of the lacrosse team, he had a degree in economics. So if anyone knew 47 didn't go into 2, it should have been that guy. And literally, I heard nothing but Dave Taylor in the back laughing. I'm like, oh man, that's not good. So,
I think if nobody laughed, if David Taylor's laughing, you're in some shit.
Well, the point was, I wasn't ready. I thought I was ready. I thought, I've been having great shows for a month previous to that, and then it just,
I always wonder about guys that had to fight Mike Tyson back in his prime. That,
right.
They're going into it, and they're getting their world title fight. They've earned the right to fight the champ. And they've trained so hard and so many months and so mentally being prepared for it, physically being prepared for it. Everyone they've ever known from their entire life is watching, if not there at the arena. And this is it. You're getting paid. You have a purse of a few million. Like, let's do this. And then you get knocked out in the first few seconds. It's like, I wasn't ready.
Well, I don't know who could be ready for Mike Tyson.
Buster Douglas.
Buster Douglas kicked. I cried at that fight. I mean, but that was like the Black Rocky. I mean, it really was. I mean, he just lost his mom like 2 weeks before the fight. He was just kind of almost like club level fighter that no one really fought a few known dudes, and he kicked Tyson's ass that night.
Yeah.
No one gives him credit for that. Tyson took him lightly. He got his ass kicked. Tyson didn't do this. He was on lithium.
The entire time he was Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I mean, he's still Tyson.
Yeah.
And then, Douglas didn't really help the next fight against Holyfield where he had like tits.
And the guy has diabetes, and he's like an active in that world.
So, Buster Douglas, James Buster Douglas, man.
You know what, though? That's what I mean, like, that is his heyday. It was one day, and it will never be forgotten. I mean, I guess it has been forgotten. People don't.
But that's like the greatest upset.
Douglas, like they talk about Mike Tyson. You don't even talk about Buster Douglas until you get to the point where, Mike Tyson's first loss. There's no real legacy other than that.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a great career, but hey, he beat the.
What a great story, and it's like that's satisfying enough.
I mean,
for him, he seems like a happy guy. I mean,
he's content.
I saw him on a thing. It was on some talk show talk about diabetes and.
Well, he
manage it.
He fucking ballooned up to like 400 pounds.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, you're not gonna have diabetes. You're gonna have a heart attack, bro. You gotta because he's from the South, I think. So he probably his whole life been eating
bullshit.
Fried foods and all that stuff.
Bullshit.
So, but for that one night in Tokyo, 1988, man, he beat his ass.
Oh man.
And if he would have trained for Holyfield, I'm not saying he would have beat him, but he got the $24 million contract, which was a ton of money back then. Now they get that per fight.
Yep.
And he probably was penniless literally until a couple years before that Tyson fight. Was like $24 million. This will last 10 lifetimes, and he's probably broke.
He's set.
I mean, but these guys, I lived in a building with the first drummer from Guns N' Roses.
Oh, wow.
And he's broke.
Oh.
And he drummed on the #1 debut album of all time.
Oh, man.
I mean, he probably got 50, 60, 75 cents copy sold, and that's like 20 million records. So I don't know what that is, but that's a lot of money. And he's like always hitting me up for $10 in the lobby.
Oh man!
So
I'd be honored to give him $10.
I mean, the first time I did, but then like the 9th time, it's like, dude, you drummed on Appetite. Shouldn't you be giving me some money? But he was the nicest guy on earth. But it's the same thing with the wrestlers, dude. You look at guys from Piper's era.
Oh yeah.
You think a guy like Mike Rotundo, Mr. Wall Street, saved his money?
He probably didn't really have that much.
Sid Vicious,
poor guy.
He might have done all right because he probably made toward the end a few million a year.
Yeah, but that's a horrible injury that ended his.
Oh, his foot when he jumped off. Well, he shouldn't have been jumping off the top second rope. I mean, I'm amazed that Scott Steiner is still alive. The Warrior died. Yeah. He probably juiced more than Warrior.
Absolutely, he's a monster.
I mean, look at him. I mean, at least Warrior had like some level, some skin. I mean, Scott Steiner's like a steel.
He looks like a bunch of rocks on top of each other.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even look appealing. I like that Egyptian headdress thing he would wear.
The metal, that looked dope. Scott Steiner was, when I was a kid, that guy was so scary. It scared me that walked the same planet as me.
It's like, how do you get like that?
Yeah, he was such a douchebag. That was his character.
A great bad guy.
Yeah, man. I liked him in the Wolf Pack.
That was just too many dudes. That's when it should have been Hall, Nash, and Hogan, and then just leave it at that. Like the Shield, it's like the Shield is badass because it's just those three dudes. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be good if you had like Jack Swagger join them.
No, it's perfect how it is. And you know what? All three of those guys are so great in their own right that even when that ends, when the Shield ends, you're just gonna have three great wrestlers out there that. I love to see those guys go head to head, especially that. I really like that Roman Reigns.
He's great. I mean, he's
Superman punch.
He's the next star in wrestling. I mean, you could
that other guy. Who's the guy?
I like Ambrose.
Ambrose. Yeah. I like his look. I think he just looks like a cool,
greasy.
Yeah.
I mean, and he did some like pro wrestling guerrilla type shows. Mm-hmm. Very small independent shows where he was like a maniac and like doing triple backflips, and he's really talented.
Those guys. That's the thing about the pro wrestling guerrilla guys. It's like the risks they take and the stuff they do is so innovative because pro wrestling's been around for so long that, like comedy, you can't be hacky with it. You have to find new ways of getting to these old moves or new variations on moves or new moves altogether. And those guys, man, they are artists. There's this guy, Willie Mack. He's just this fat guy that can move like the wind. And he's throwing. I mean, what's cool about that PWG too? You're so in the action that you literally have to move out of the way, or else somebody's gonna land on top of you. I met one guy in the bathroom there that was icing his shoulder because some 300-pound man got power bombed on top of him. Didn't move out of the way quick enough.
That's crazy.
It's like no insurance there. You know what I mean? Like you go in there, you're risking getting landed on.
Well, it's like when I used to go to the XPW shows at Birmingham High. It was like crazy, the stunts they would do. No insurance, no nothing. I mean, this guy Supreme was unbelievable. He's like probably like a 5'6", 7" King Kong Bundy, probably 300-400 pounds. But he, like the guy you were just talking about, he could move and he would take these unbelievable bumps but XPW had no budget, so like they had him crawl up a ladder once, probably a 40-50 foot ladder, and the ladder was so shitty it broke as he's at the top of it. And for some reason, they had three sides of the ring had the ropes. The Forsythe didn't. So he fell against the edge of the right on his rib.
Oh no.
Like rib cage, and I was sitting next to his wife.
Oh.
And his girlfriend, and with the kid, the 2-year-old kid, and she starts crying. He literally didn't move for 20 minutes. I thought, oh my God, he's dead or he's paralyzed. He gets up finally. They put him back on another ladder.
Oh, you dumbass.
Where they had this table of barbed wire, broken light bulbs, nails, all that shit on the very small, like, gymnasium mat apron outside. The guy pushes him. The ladder was so tall, he overshot the table and fell right onto the concrete floor, like no padding. And this guy was an animal. And I'll never forget him like limping to the back and all the wrestlers in the back, because I was looking through the curtain where like gave him a standing ovation. And I said to his girlfriend, how much is he getting paid for this? She's like, $175.
Oh.
Cash, no insurance, no nothing.
And he still feels that.
Oh, he was amazing. And they had some wacky they were like ECW, but with no budget.
Yeah, that's the closest thing I could compare PWG to. It's that same vibe. Whenever I'd watch ECW, I've always wanted to be a part of that crowd.
Yeah.
I really felt that in that show. Without the ladders and tables and concussions. These guys are true professionals.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you talk about WWE guys and WCW guys killing themselves, and it's like, what are these guys going to do? I mean, they made no fucking money, and their bodies are done.
Yeah.
New Jack. I mean,
New Jack. I got the best New Jack story.
Let's hear it. I got to sit down, man.
Have a seat.
Oh yeah, please. No, please.
When I started at the Comedy Store, I worked the phones during the day, and I basically had to, people would call in to want to go to the show, and I'd set them up, or comedians would call for different reasons or whatever. But I would be on the phones, and one day, I mean, you're in there for hours. You're in there it's an all day shift, and you're really not doing anything but answering the phone. But it's a lot of time of just sitting there.
Right.
And one day I was sitting in there, and somebody calls, and some guy, he's trying to become a comedian, because we get that call a lot. Like, oh, how do I? I'm funny, man. How do I get up on stage? And you have to give him the whole spiel about signing up on the open mic. This guy calls, says he wants to be a comedian. I tell him about the open mic. He's like, that's cool, man. Well, hey, listen, I'm actually a professional wrestler, and my ears go up. Like, oh. He's like, yeah, my name is New Jack. And I'm like, the New Jack? He's like, have you heard of me? And I was like, hell yeah, aren't you the guy that stabbed somebody? He's like, yeah. And then he goes, so I'm like, dude, no, man, come right in, man. I'll take care of you. Like, I was so stoked that I'm talking to New Jack that I'm inviting this maniac over to my place of work. But we start talking, and he tells me the story about how he stabbed that guy. And then, through chit chat, and he's like, well, hey, man, I just made a DVD of some of my greatest matches. How about I send it to you? And then he sent me a DVD autographed of just his New Jack's greatest hits. And luckily I never had to see him. Like, he never showed up, because I actually got really excited that, like, I'm going to bring New Jack to the comedy show. And then Brett Ernst at the time had just got done working for that. Remember when MTV what was that called?
Lethal. Yeah, I don't remember the name, but I remember.
X-Pac was in it.
Right. Real bottom feeders.
Right. Well, I don't know I guess maybe New Jack was a part of that, or I don't know if he was, but somehow Brett had met New Jack. And when I was telling Brett Ernst, because Brett is kind of a wrestling fan.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, no, don't bring that guy. He's a fucking maniac. And then I've heard stories of him going to comedy shows and getting drunk and making some big scenes and shit. So I really dodged a bullet there.
Well, I mean,
DVD out of it though.
Well, he went to one of those comedy shows that Gail was running at Lucky Strike, and
no shit.
He sat in the cornered booth, and I instantly knew who he was. And after the show, he's like, he extends his hand. He's like, "Hey man, you were really funny." And I went to shake his hand. He grabs my hand and headbutts me.
Oh.
And it was kind of cool, but it kind of hurt, to be honest with you.
Awesome.
It probably didn't hurt him at all, because his forehead's all fucking jacked up, and scars, and like he looks like a young Abdullah the Butcher. By the way, if you're ever in Atlanta, go to Abdullah's Ribs, where Abdullah is behind the grill.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love that.
I mean but that goes.
I don't even like ribs, but I would go for that.
How great would that be to look at him sweating over your food? It would be like the great one, that one.
When you had the cookouts.
Dave Taylor barbecue, or the great one. And the great one's a black comic, for those of you who don't know. He kind of looks like buckwheat. He's a very mysterious guy. You know, I knew him when he did comedy, and he's really funny.
He dresses like a ghost at a hotel.
Yeah, and he had a heat lamp fell on him once at a nightclub. So he had this huge gaping open wound, and he didn't go to the hospital for bad insurance or whatever. So he's cooking the burgers and dogs at Dave Taylor's barbecue, and he doesn't have any bandage over his open wound. Like blood and gunk are literally dripping. It was pretty hot that day, and he's got like this zoot suit on, and he's dripping his like bodily fluids over the burgers, and he's like chewing tobacco, and it's like falling out of his mouth and like into the grill, and I'm like,
And then when he would take a break, PJ would man the grill, who might be even more gross.
I don't know if anyone is as gross as the great one in terms of like hygiene.
Yeah.
I mean,
PJ, you know what? PJ is historically gross. He's probably a clean guy,
yeah.
But once you hear about all the tampons he's pulled out of women with his mouth, I don't want that guy cooking my burger.
Well, I'd rather have
Burger cook my burger.
I'd rather I a burger. I'd rather have Big Rod put my burger between his armpits, and I mean, there's so many characters at the Comedy Store.
I feel bad for dropping these references that people.
I know.
You just have to know that everybody that we're bringing up, we really put them in the right context for it to be funny, and they're all disgusting. And I mean, the point is PJ is filthy, and so is Burger, and.
The podcast is coming to an end when we start out with Donald Sterling, and we're dropping Big Rod references. Who I still to this day don't know what he does, but
I got in a fight with him. I felt bad
because he was snoring.
Physical fight.
I think I was there that night.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was snoring. He'd come in and he would snore in the back of the room, and I never really had an issue with it because it'd be in the original room and super late, and whenever I'm in the original room, I really do take whatever happens. The room is bigger than me, so whatever happens, it's gonna have to add to the show. I can't fight it. So him snoring in there wasn't the issue, but I actually had a main room spot, and I was really excited about it because I hadn't really done the main room before. And you know how Tommy is when he gives you anything. Well,
no, I don't.
And he puts that.
I don't know that, actually. Well,
let me tell you. As soon as he gives you something, he's gonna make it like it's your graduation, and your whole family's gonna be there. He puts that kind of pressure on it, like this is, this matters. This is part of you getting to the next level. And this is maybe a year ago. It's really not that big of a deal, but it was my main room show.
Well, sure.
I was excited to do it. I was excited not be on past one. And then it's barely anybody in there. Same shitty conditions as usual, but I like that. I like connecting with people. And they just hear snoring from the back. I'm like, oh, Rod, come on, man. I was so excited. And he's like, he says something, he insults me for waking him up somehow. You know what he says? He goes, what, man? I got diabetes. Like that made it okay.
What is he, Buster Douglas? They do bear a striking resemblance now.
Yeah, they'd probably around the same weight.
But I mean, that's what makes the Comedy Store the best. Like at the Improv, if you were in the back sleeping, you'd get like a lifetime ban. They'd be like, hey, man, this is a comedy club. At the Comedy Store, at several points in the evening.
If you're sleeping, they're giving you a pillow.
Yeah, but they've cracked down recently. But, I would say right around that time and before that, you would have 3 different people sleeping in the back of the OR. Mm-hmm. You'd have Peanut in the far corner. You'd have Big Rod in the middle, and Eddie Whitehead Jr. in the left. And it was just like Big Rod.
Doc taking a quick power nap before he gets back to the lodge.
Yeah.
He's working there, so I that's totally cool, but...
Oh, Doc's the best, but I mean, it's like no other comedy club in the world would let, you know, if Jamie saw that at the Laugh Factory, he'd have a heart attack.
Yeah.
He'd move back to Palestine.
Oh, yeah.
But that's why the store is the store. It's just
That is why the store, and that's why I don't really mind the shittiness of the store. All the gunk that's there, and like even Boone, I think it adds it gives it spice, and I think, like you said, man, it is what makes the store the store. It's the bullshit of it all.
I mean, it's like the bar in Star Wars, man, where you have every
Yeah. What's that bar called?
the cantina.
Yeah.
You have every unsavory character in the world of comedy coming to the store, and then you're with Russell Peters.
Oh yeah, you have the full spectrum of comedy.
Like last night, I'm talking to Boone, whose breath smelled Boone Shakalaka, homeless comics, steal stuff.
Breath smells like the 405.
Oh my God, dude. His breath last night smelled like Big Rod's ass. I mean, just awful. And I turn the corner and I'm talking to Dave Attell 2 seconds later.
Probably ate Big Rod's ass.
Yeah, I mean, he literally.
Attell's there. Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, you got the whole. You have all of comedy.
Yeah, I mean, literally from A to Z. The Z. There's no other place like that in the world in terms of LA comedy where you can talk with, the number one money making comic from last year. In the last couple of years, probably of all time at this point, and the comic who's made the least amount of money ever in Boone Shakalaka. Actually, he's made a lot of money.
Well, selling stuff.
Yeah, just stolen merchandise. But that's why the store is great, and it's whores. I mean, Saturday night it was like an ant farm of whores just walking around. What's the belly room? And every comic's ears perk up like coyotes, and
that's great.
It's so
Yeah, that's funny. And I always love when there's like a new girl that starts at, like, even if she's like a comedian, like a girl starts like comedy, all the dogs that come out of the woodwork.
Oh yeah,
offering spots and advice.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's one right now in particular that I'm friends with.
I think I know who you're talking about without you saying anything else.
But everyone. I probably, and everyone's trying to bone her. They're all promising her stuff, and it's like, I'm trying to help her.
Is it your partner?
I'm not. Yeah, but everyone thinks that's the funny thing is everyone thinks we're fucking.
When I first saw that girl, I knew that. I mean, you just know, like, when a pretty girl starting out there is just, I feel so bad for them because they're getting such false friendship. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and I'm not
guy. That's what I really feel for women that start comedy because, as a especially a young comedian, I love having like there's older guys who've been doing comedy for decades longer than me that will take me out to get a drink and we'll talk comedy and we'll talk about those deep things. They become mentors and it's people I really look up to, and they're there to help. And that's kind of the rhythm of comedy, is that every generation helps its last. I mean, not everybody in the generation, but that like you open for comedians that are bigger than you, and it goes off stage too. Like they, you have help as a man in comedy from. It's like a college professor that you could get lunch with. And when you're a girl, it's so divided because, these older guys it's not that they're trying to help them. They're trying to fuck them.
Well, that's what
And that's the big mind fuck that they have to go through. Like, is he helping me or is he trying to sleep with me? And that, I just feel, I don't know. That's why I don't really hit on girls at all.
But girls, I'm as straight as a pole, but you're a good-looking dude, so girls are gonna hit on you.
Yeah, that's how I get laid. But I don't like hitting on girls because I feel like it's dishonest. Because if I were to hit on a girl, you go up and you start talking. Well, where are you from? Or the intent isn't the questions you're asking them. The intent is to fuck them. So the whole time I'm kind of just I'm being dishonest because all I want to get to is the fucking part. I'm going through the motions of. So I'd rather just not do that and not feel like a creep, but especially when it comes to a girl who's a comedian that's just trying to figure out what it's like to be in comedy, and it's so scary because it's so new to them. They're going through the same things we are, only they have less support. That's why women stick together and they become that. There's that kind of feminist. They're like groups of they're like like groups of girls that have their own girls show and fuck guys, and not fuck guys the good way, like, you know,
Right.
fuck them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last two girls I've tried to give this advice to, you know, they get offended and they're like, oh, they like me because I'm funny. It's like,
Ooh.
oh man, you might be funny. I'm not saying that, but you know, they just want to fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, and like one of them, I won't say the actor's name, but it's an A-level actor, A-list. I mean, top of the food chain. He sent her a text saying, why don't you come over to my house and read scripts with me?
Oh.
And that's like the standard line for a high-level actor. It is. And this guy has an acting school. He's well known for farming girls from this school. And this girl's so naive. She's great, very funny, model looks. She's like, oh, his girlfriend's out of town. He just wanted me to come over to read scripts. I'm like, yeah. Do you think you'd be getting that invite if the girlfriend was in town?
Yeah, there you go. It's a great way of looking at it.
So the girlfriend comes back in town. He hasn't called her since. So it's like, so-and-so. And she's like, really, you know, she's like so pure about the business. You know, she's like, oh, you think that's what he wanted to do? I was like, what?
Yeah, it's really sad. Girls really are alone when they start longer than guys are. Because the thing is, I mean, I do say, I really do think men and women are equal in as far as ability goes, because a woman can be as funny as a guy. They could,
oh yeah,
through all of that and rise above, and it's hard for anybody to compete. We all have things that set us back. So it's not like their problems are worse than ours. They're just different, and that's just one of them. And I feel like I can't help with that, but I don't have to be a part of the problem. So I really don't. I mean, and there's some cute girls that start stand-up, and they're my age, and they're also the only girls that I'm really around a lot that, of course, I'd love to hook up with them. But I just think there's got to be a right. If it's going to happen, it's got to be, the conditions have to be right, and they have to be as into it, as openly into it as me. Or else I'm a fucking creep, dude. There's a ton of creepy dudes that are.
Oh, dude, I see it when I had a girlfriend, Gail.
Yeah.
Yeah, every fucking night at the Comedy Store and other places, I'd see comics hug her and hold on for an extra, 2 seconds because she had, whatever, bigger boobs than most. And, it's like, you don't think I see that? It's like comics are pigs up at the store. But, they're great guys.
Yeah, they're great guys to us.
As long as you don't have a girlfriend.
Have you ever heard, like, when, like, you meet a girl that, and she tells you about like how shitty your friends are or how creepy they are. Yeah. Some of the lines that your friends have dropped on them. Like,
oh yeah.
So it's funny because you know him as a dude that's your friend, but like their perspective was, oh no, he's a fucking creep. He has to.
Oh yeah.
The first night we met.
Oh my God! I just one of the girls I'm giving advice to. She shows me the texts that she gets from for our friends, and it's like, oh dude, it's like, these guys are animals up there, but they smell blood. They smell a new girl, new meat. It's a race to be the first one to bone her, and then the floodgates are open. I mean, you've seen it with waitresses up there,
Oh yeah, well, waitresses, it's like. Not that I feel any less for them, but they really are fair game because they're girls that are just working at the place. It's not about rising up the ranks of being a waitress. They're there, and a lot of times people that you hook up with are people you work with. So
oh sure,
I mean, nobody should be creepy to any woman ever, but when it comes to like courting somebody, a waitress, I know a lot of people. Now it could fuck you up. You don't want to be stupid and ruin your relationship with a club. I mean, that's a different issue. I just think women doing comedy, like, if you're going to hook up, I'm not saying don't hook up with each other. Comedians, of course, I think totally comedians should hook up with each other because you're always around each other. You understand each other, but you have to have that understanding. And it has to be private. And by has to be, it doesn't have to be private. Just don't exploit each other. Don't be disrespectful. One of my girlfriends, Melissa Villasenor was my girlfriend for about 2 years, and like I couldn't say anything bad about her. She's a comedian. She's an active working comedian. For me to say something about like my ex-girlfriend Melissa. I can't do that because no matter what, it'd be out of context. I'm talking about a comedian. I'm not talking about just my ex-girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Whereas, we could talk about funny sluts that we've been with and like
Oh yeah. I mean,
different nasty pigs that we've
at the Comedy Store. I mean, just we've all taken tours and given them. And
dude, I have a small trough at my house that I keep dirty just for.
yeah, I mean, the Comedy Store is it's the greatest place on earth. I mean,
I really do feel for that girl though that you know.
Well, I'm trying to, it's
She's
like
so pretty, but the thing is, she's actually really funny. She does great on that thing. And you know what I'm talking about.
oh, that thing, yes.
She's so quick on that. I'm like, whoa, it's like kind of mind bending funny.
Oh, she's awesome, but
Which is sad because like that's what a mind fuck that is, because you almost don't want to tell her like, do you think it's because he thinks I'm funny? Then you're like, well, it might actually be because he thinks you're funny.
Well, it's like even with another person we both know. I like to keep things anonymous on this show. That's how I've lived my comedy life. Everyone loves me because I don't expose dirt openly. But she had these baboons chasing her, telling her how great she was, and she's very funny. And I'm like, they're just trying to fuck you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, they're not. They think I'm funny. It's like...
You can't tell a girl that because it's so offensive to them.
Well, I get it. If I was, like I remember, like when I was dating my previous girlfriend, Shelly, who I don't think you ever met. No, we'll wrap it up soon.
No, take your time.
No. I mean, it's like, because I find if we go past like an hour and 45 minutes, it switches over to another audio file. And I don't know how to.
Yeah.
But well, yeah. But let me see what we're at. But my ex-girlfriend Shelly's an awesome person. When Gail first started coming around, she would laugh overtly at my jokes and flirt with me, and I was so in denial of that. Shelly would be like, that girl wants to fuck you, and I'm like, no, she doesn't. You don't think she just thinks I'm funny? And that was really one of the reasons we broke up initially, because I was so offended by like, oh, you don't think that, that girl might just think I'm pretty funny dude? And she's like, no, she wants to fuck you. I know it. And girls know. And guys know. And sure enough, Shelly was 100% right.
Yep. And way more than just wanting to fuck you. How long were you?
6.5 years. So, I mean, and there were guys in... Gail's world where Gail's really funny comic bartender, but I'd go into these bars she works at and see these sleazy fucking city dwellers, and I'm like, Gail, he's just trying to fuck you, and we'd sometimes get into it, like, guys are pigs, man. Girls are pigs too. I mean, we're all pigs, but it's like,
that's the thing too. Like in the end, like everyone wants to have sex, so it's like.
Yeah, and if you're good looking, you don't even have to be young necessarily. Just
no, not at all.
But like I would see these old guys coming to Gail's bars. Oh, I can get you into the movie business and all that bullshit. And I see that with some other girls. I'm trying to, I think young girls at the Comedy Store look at me as like a father figure.
Yeah.
Because I'm, in most cases, 20 years older than them.
Right.
So they trust me.
You're really not threatening.
Because I'm not trying, I do what I do in my own world, and I get my jollies off. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to fuck these young comics because, I don't think a lot of them are funny. So it's hard for me to fuck someone who's not funny.
Yeah.
But that's a hang up for me.
Yeah, same here, man. I'm like a chick in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so hard to fake it.
I can't fake laugh.
And they do bits on you and like, oh boy, I don't know if I could do this. And then you're in them 2 minutes later because you're horny. But, but, I think we know, well,
I can turn a blind eye every now and then.
It's tough. I mean, there's, we'll talk off air when we'll name names, but, what are you going to do? But listen, we're at the hour and 30 mark. See, my goal is, I think it doesn't even seem like we've done an hour and a half. I know there's the 10-minute podcast with Dalia and Callan, and that's great. I like going long on these things. If it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. We had some fun stuff.
But you'll be, as Rat would say, you'll be back for more.
I'd love to.
Yeah, I mean, this is, maybe we'll get Hinchcliffe in on the night. I know this is a big week for him, so I didn't want to disturb his.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's the nitty gritty for that. The roast battle Thursday.
Like, I don't think he can lose.
It's
too much shit.
Here's the thing, and this is
lose with humility, and people would applaud him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he would still be great at it. And Tony, who's never done this, if he loses, man, he thinks he's the greatest, and then he would really have to question that.
Well, this is going to be Tony's.
Tony has more to lose, is what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely, because Tony has created this heel-like, Rick Martel, Rick Rude, $1 million man,
Who would these guys be in the world of wrestling?
Oh, I think Tony would be those three guys that I just named, and Jesus would be like Tito Santana, like the good Mexican guy you always root for. But here's the thing, and Tony might take offense to me saying this, and I would say this if he was in this room because I love him. He's one of my, he's like a little brother to me up there. I don't think Tony realizes maybe how many comics want to see him go down.
Yeah.
And let's just say a lot of them are giving Jesus jokes. So it's like, I think Tony's problem is, one, everything Jesus is going to say is going to be fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's going to be, and he might know what's coming, but still, it's going to, Tony's in a pattern now of doing the Kill Tony show, which is great. Every Monday night at the store, but where he kind of rips into these open micers, and they don't really rip him back because they're scared, and they're like, almost like you take your beating. It's like joining a fraternity. And, that's not going to happen Thursday.
Oh, Jesus will rip back.
And rip hard. And, if some of the guys, I'm sure Jesus will use most of his own stuff, but, some of the other writers.
He's going to be a nervous wreck the entire time. Jesus is humble to the end. Like, even after the Jamar roast that he won, he was shaking for hours after that. He had been through trauma.
Oh, yeah, he was nervous. Let me tell you something. I respect both guys. I respect anyone who's done the roast, even the bad ones. I mean, just being so close to the stage as I am, it ain't easy, man. I mean, it's the energy in there is like literally an ECW fucking, that one roast with Eric Marino and Jerron, and Eric flubbed one of his jokes, and he tried to start over, and the crowd just ate him up alive, and then he just... I don't know, it bombed out. And, what was another, even like when Virginia, no, was it, not Virginia, these two female, I won't say their names because they're both cool people, but it wasn't maybe the strongest of roasts, and the crowd was just unmerciful on them.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Yeah, but you know what, though? You deserve it. I mean, like.
Oh, yeah, you sign up for it.
Sign up for it.
It's like if me and you ever did it against each other. We're two of the most well-liked guys up there. But if either one of us flubbed a joke or flubbed a line or just told a bad joke, the crowd would get nuts.
Yeah, it's the show.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see who has the best rebuttals. Jesus is pretty quick, and Tony's great too. But I think Tony's almost out of practice with trading lines with someone real fast. Like he's used to telling.
Yeah, but Tony's good in the pocket. I think he has it in him.
Oh, absolutely.
But I do definitely give Jesus the edge, just for those facts. Not that one's funnier than the other, just that one has more going for him when it comes to, like you said, a lot of people want to see Tony go down.
Oh, a lot.
He shat on a lot of people that are going to be there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like the older comics, and I don't even mean like age-wise, but just comics who've been up there who maybe when Tony was coming up, who like they want to see him go down.
Yeah.
And he's great.
He's talked a lot of shit.
Well, yeah, and he's borders on, I dig the character because it's really not a character, it's how he it's how he feels.
Funny, yeah.
But it's good to be confident, but when you're cocky, people just wait for you to fall.
It was the best when Tony first started because he didn't have the talent that he
right
does now, but always had the ego.
Oh yeah.
Always had that, and just he would die, and still he'd have that chin up and that smug look on his face, like he's the greatest.
So
I fucking love it. I think it's a really funny. I mean, I really do think Tony's one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life.
oh yeah, he's great. You know, he just
This whole thing's gonna be exciting. That's like the one thing. That's what I want to promote right now is the roast battle on Thursday.
Thursday, May 1st, 9 p.m. I don't know if I think it's in the Belly Room.
I think it's in the main room.
I hope it's not
It's
because
at the Comedy Store.
it's at the Comedy Store. You'll see the people. In this podcast, you know, very rarely do I really. I did it with Dave Taylor. I released it the day of. I'm going to do that today with you. Because I'm trying to be not as lazy. And you know, if you have anything you want to plug this week, any shows?
I'll tell you this: if anybody wants to go to that. If anybody wants to go to that show, I'll also get them into the Comedy Store that night. If they're, you know, the show's only gonna last, the battle's only gonna last for, what is it, like
15, 20 minutes.
Well, I think there's also an undercard, so it might be longer than the regular ones. But after that, if you don't want your night to be over, I guess tweet at me at Matt Edgar. Matt has one T in it, and if you're there, I will definitely set you up with some seats in the show that's happening in the room next door to it.
And the judges, for those of you, I mean, you really
this is good. This
you
is important.
Have to come to this.
If the battle wasn't a reason to come, the judges definitely will sell you on it.
Because I'm guessing they're going to do time maybe in the OR and then
even to see them on an they'll probably also do stage time in the other room, but to even see them in an element like this where they're judging, you're not going to see an act, but you're going to see two of the greatest comedians that I think are, especially
I mean, Bill Burr, who's a monster. I mean
that guy is unstoppable.
Yeah, he's
like the Goldberg of
yeah, I mean, he'll just spear you and just give you the drop. And then Sarah Silverman,
who's a legend,
and Jeff Ross, who's like
Jeffrey the roast.
I mean, he's like Jeff Ross.
He's Jeff Ross, and this guy, he brought roast to he's helped it evolve into to where it's at now. I just think it's such a special night, and I think everybody would enjoy.
Oh, it's going to be in a party atmosphere. That's one of the things I like the most. And Whitney Lee Rice has the female house racist.
Who is hilarious.
Really funny, newer comic on the scene. I think she's going to be like the next Whitney Cummings from the standpoint of she's pretty, she's funny, and she's a great networker, which is just what Whitney was.
Yeah.
Whitney Cummings. Yeah. Whitney's really funny, and Rel Battle's great. Brian Moses, the host. I'll be the Mr. House Racist.
My favorite part of it.
So, well, it's tough. I mean, listen, that's why I respect the people who do the roast, because I'm nervous as a fucking anything. The 2-3 times they go to me, I mean, it's got to be racist and it's got to be funny. And Jeff Ross now specifically will go to us and do a bit of an improv. Like, you know, I don't know what he's going to say, so we have to. I'm like, Whitney, get ready. We both have like 4 jokes and she writes her own jokes.
So yeah, do you guys write jokes like?
She writes her own jokes.
But how do you write a joke for? I mean, the situation seems so out of the moment that you pull things together.
Right. I mean, sometimes we combine them. Like it was my. I don't know if it was 100% my idea about the watermelon, and then she wrote the line about the genetically modified seeds. So that was her line. You know, I think we're going to have something special. I don't want to give it away this week. I mean, we have some wardrobe that's coming en route from, let's just say, NBA.com. And we're I mean, I'm telling you, thank you, Donald Sterling. That's all I'll say.
It's gonna be great.
And
go to that. You got but it will. No matter what, you will laugh and have a good time. I swear to the Lord, it's the most entertaining thing. It's the most entertaining live show of the week.
Yeah, I mean, there's great Tony and Jesus, 2 of the rising young comics on the scene. And you've got 3 comedy, literally, and this is.
Is it free?
Yeah.
The show itself is free. About going, just getting there, get there.
It's free. You can park. Parking's all over the strip. People say parking at the Comedy Store is bad. It's really not.
Well, if parking's bad and if it's something you have to pay for, just know you're getting it back in a free show.
Yeah, I mean.
And I'm telling you, I can't stress it. If you want any excuse to go out for a live show or to even go out for a night, you know, I mean, God, this is such a fun, cool thing. I just feel bad for the people that that don't live around here that are just listening to me going like, oh fuck, dude, I guess we'll hear about it next podcast.
Yeah, I mean, if you're seeing 3 comedy superstars in one room, and who knows who Jeff Ross or Sarah or Bill are going to bring. Maybe Attell is going to watch, and it's just going to be
celebrities that have shown up and then they get involved in the roast.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really this cool underground.
Oh, this will be on TV,
and that's the thing. Like now, the getting's good because you get to have it so personally right now. It's not going to be like that for long.
Yeah, it's a couple months. This is going to be on a sound stage at Paramount or Fox or Comedy Central or Spike, and it'll still be great, but it won't. Unless say film it in the belly room. But I don't think you could there because it's just there's no room for cameras. But hey, we're crossing that bridge. May 1st, Comedy Store, the roast battle, run by Rel Battle. Chris Burns is involved. Brian Moses, many great people. There'll be great roast. I think the May 6th also is Stuart Thompson against Dan Madonia. I mean, each week it gets better and better. So follow Matt Edgar at MATEDGAR.
That's right.
And I'm at Earl Skakel, EarlSkakel. Inappropriate Earl. It's on SoundCloud. And for you Steve Jobs nut swingers, you can still go on iTunes. Leave a review if you want. Matt's coming back. This is one of the longest Inappropriate Earls. We are at an hour and 43 minutes. Dave Taylor was an hour and 57 minutes. And of course, the all-time record was 2 hours and 30 minutes with my 2 friends, Chris and Cole. But the other week, my computer asked me to fragment the disc, not knowing what that meant. I said yes, and that episode was erased. So, as well as the secret lost episode with Sandy Danto and Carlos Herrera.
Oh yeah, he told me about that. He said you guys want to redo it.
Oh, I felt so bad. I don't know much about computers.
You guys came up with a song out of the moment that just.
Oh, my heart breaks that I just don't know I didn't know what fragment disc meant. And I originally hit no, it didn't click. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should just hit yes. And of course, yes clicked. And I lost, close to 4 hours of 2 episodes. But that's not going to happen anymore. Matt Edgar's one of the good ones. Follow him on Facebook too.
Just Twitter.
All right, just follow him just on Twitter. Comedy Store, Improv. He's great, super nice guy. And girls, if you're out there, I know we have 1 or 2 listeners. He's available, so get on it. And, I'm in a moment. Who knows what I am. But, if you've seen the dick pic, you know what time it is. So we'll see you. And thanks, as always, to Stevie Rochelle from the great band Tough for providing the music on Inappropriate Earl. That's the Tough song, Forever Yours, you hear, with a great guitar solo by, I don't know the name of the guitar player, but I'm sure Stevie paid a handsome money. That is all.